Greetings and welcome to the Voices Listed podcast show with Dr. Pimak, a show where I talk to ordinary people that are doing extraordinary things. Today, I don't think I'll call my guest ordinary. I'm speaking today with Alan Fahden, and Alan is a former stand-up comic who has worked with countless Fortune 500 companies as well as celebrity business owners such as Paul McCartney as well as Bill Murray. Alan has been featured in People Magazine and ABC News, BBC TV, and countless television and radio broadcasts based on the work that he does. Fahden divides his time between writing, corporate consulting, innovation seminars, and keynote speeches, as well as serving on various boards in the USA. Alan continues to work on innovation and team dynamics. Join me today as I speak with Alan Fahden. Alan, so good to see you, and as always, it's always a pleasure to have a conversation with you. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Likewise, Patrick. It's great to see you, and I'm really excited about this.
Oh, fantastic. One of the things that I found interesting about you is that you've got, different levels of experience and you've worked across different settings and organizations. I mean, when I was doing my research, I stopped counting at 15 organizations, like big name Fortune 500 companies that you've worked with. So, to start us off, you went from being a stand-up comic to working with these Fortune 500 companies. How did comedy prepare you, I guess, for understanding team dynamics and corporate innovation?
Well, it was a really odd circumstance, but I was also in the advertising business as a creative director at several ad agencies, and I started my own ad agency at 25. But we can do simultaneous things; otherwise, I'd be 256 years old, and I got another 3 years to go. On that. So, one of the things I discovered, because I got really interested in high impact, award winning ads. These commercials that make you laugh, the ones you'd see on the Super Bowl and so forth. And I had hired a bunch of beginners, and I realized that nobody's ever trained in advertising concept. I'll get off this in a minute, but you'll see how all this connects to that. And so one of the things I did was I went through all the awards books, because that was sort of the standard of excellence, and I found that they all had one thing in common, and I'd never realized it before, but every award-winning ad, commercial, whatever, had some kind of an opposite. In other words, they set you up to expect one thing, and then they slap you hard because they flip you over 180 degrees, and and then I also realized at the time it was a punchline of a joke, and all of comedy is based on opposites. Where give you an example, Mel Brooks's favorite joke. He was on C-SPAN, and he was the dean of comedians, and they all said, "Well, you got to wait till Mel gets here." And so Mel walked in. Hey, Mel, tell your favorite joke. He said, "Hey, I don't do jokes. I do movies and I do Broadway plays." "Oh, wait a minute, I got one joke. Guy walks into a library, see, and he says, I'd like 2 cheeseburgers and an order of fries." And the librarian looks at him, pauses for a moment, and says, "Sir, this is a library." He says, "I'll have 2 cheeseburgers and an order of fries."
He whispers that.
Yeah, so that's it's a clean joke, but it totally surprises you.
Yeah.
And so that's a principle that goes everywhere.
Okay.
And it even goes to the to ancient times, but just a lot of people don't know it. And I'll quote a couple of physicists: the opposite of a truth is not necessarily a falsehood. Niels Bohr said this, Danish Nobel Prize winner in 1923, worked on the atomic team, says it's not the opposite of a truth is not always a falsehood. In fact, oftentimes it's an even greater truth.
That's true. Yeah.
And
I love it. And so you've spoken about the library. I was going to bring that in a little bit later into our conversation. But Al, one of the craziest things that I think you've done, maybe you've done crazier things, but you at some point you bought a bookstore and you started selling books. But the thing that was different was you're not selling any other book, you're just selling your own book. You
My
bought
book,
a
yes.
bookstore and you decided to sell your own book and nothing else. What's the story
Yes.
behind that?
Well,
That's
it was,
insane.
my personal motto is go forth, be silly, and multiply.
I love it.
So,
Go for it, be silly and multiply.
be
I love
silly.
it.
So I knew that if I did everything the same way that everybody else has done it, it's not going to get any attention. It's just going to fail because people won't even notice it. So I said, I used my own process, and I said, okay, what's obvious? First of all, how are books sold?
Yeah.
And they were sold in bookstores at the time.
Yeah.
This is when Amazon was just beginning, and I said, okay, then books are sold in bookstores. Well, what's the what's the status quo on that? And bookstores were getting bigger and bigger. The individual stores, Barnes and Noble and Borders and all that, they had 10,000 titles. So I said, what's the opposite of 10,000 titles? And it was 0, but I really couldn't do anything with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I kicked it back and I went to 1. And so I opened a one bookstore, and I thought, well, this will be funny. And here's one of the things I learned from that. If you want your idea to really stand out, you have to change only one thing and then put that new thing, the opposite thing, back into the context of the original. That sounds pretty academic, but I'll give you an example to make it easy. So what I did was I was thinking about Barnes and Noble and Borders. What's the opposite? Okay, one bookstore. So now I'm going to do everything I can to put the one book back into the context of the original. So what are bookstores? They have names like Barnes and Noble, and so I had a name too. But that name played at the opposite, and it was called Redundant. And the book that repeats itself redundantly, repetitively, and over again tautologically. And so that was the name and the theme line. And then big bookstores, they had a lot of departments, so I put my book in every different department. Sports, anthropology, fictional literature, psychology, self-help. Incidentally, we tracked everything, and over half the books were sold from the psychology self-help section. So
that's crazy.
It was this book,
wow.
Innovation on Demand. And it's a very silly book, but it's full of how I did how to use opposites to come up with big ideas.
And you even said in the store you had a sign that said shoplifting is encouraged.
Yeah. Shoplifters, welcome. Come on in. And
shoplift the only book that's in the store, then you're welcome. Take it.
But nobody ever stole any books. And this is the thing on how to get somebody who doesn't like change to be okay with things. And so I made a deal with the lady who's running the bookstore for me.
Yeah.
And she said, don't put that sign up. They're going to come in and steal us blind. And so I said, okay, here's how you deal with that person. They don't like change. They want to just keep things comfortable. Yeah. And so I said, I'll tell you what, I will be responsible. So if any books are stolen, I'll replace them and pay for them. And then if they are, I'll take the sign down immediately.
Wow.
And so let's do it for a week and see if any books are stolen. Yeah. And then if there aren't any, how about I get to have the sign up for another week? So we went for weeks. Nobody stole a book.
Nobody stole a book.
But then the bookstore got written up in People magazine with 35 million readers, and she says, okay, you're going to get it now. They're going to come in here and steal us blind. I said, remember our agreement. We're just going to, you'll allow it for another week if nobody steals any books. Yeah. So we counted for, in the first week, no book stolen. So I got to have it up another week. Second week, no book stolen. Got to have it up another week. Third week, no book stolen. Got to have it up another week, except for one problem. And that is somebody stole the sign. Welcome, shoplifters. And what a great sense of humor to steal the sign.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So
And not the book. That's very interesting. And so, this is just innovation at work. One of the, you've come up with a lot of, you've coined a lot of terms, and one of the terms you've coined that I love is called fool's gold innovation, right? And you've coined that term to describe companies that either kill ideas or run with bad ones. What's happening, Al? So when you step back and reflect with the Fortune 500 companies that you've worked with, what's happening in that decision-making moment, right? And how can leaders recognize when they're about to make a mistake?
well, that's a great one. There's a thing in I was a speech major, or should I say, speech major,
Yep.
and that was the only way I could graduate. I was a math major, and that was hilarious. And so the one thing I learned was that the whole thing of logical fallacies, and there's one called false dilemma.
Yep.
And the world of people trying to innovate. Peter Drucker said that that's the one way to be a prosperous company in this environment where everything's cluttered with over communication is to be different.
Yep.
And to be different, you've got to be able to innovate, which means not only have new ideas but get them done.
Yep.
Well, the whole dumb thing about it was Peter Drucker said that's the way you grow a company, is to have big ideas and then get them into action. That's called innovation, and no one knows how to do it.
No. Yep.
And I'm just laughing, and I'm thinking, oh my God.
Yeah.
And he's right. So what I did was I developed a process because I personally love coming up with ideas and getting them done. But everything's built against it. Somebody will say, "Oh, I'm sorry. We tried that. That's not going to work." Or somebody else will say, "Oh my God, you're going to ruin everything. Don't bring that stupid idea in here. We're going to have to rewrite the software."
Yeah.
So, or somebody else says, "Well, nice idea, Al, but I've got a much better one, and let's go with mine." So everybody's fighting like this, and I have a visual here that basically shows that 85%, if you have a big idea, the bigger it is, more likely it's going to get killed. It's too uncomfortable, and you will have an 85% chance of that idea dying right there in the meeting.
Wow.
And so what I want to do is, if I can find this thing, while I'm looking for it or not looking for it. So what happens is that there are, I identified a model to find out who does what. Yeah. And so there are 4 of them. Sure. The early adopters are creators and advancers. Okay. The late adopters are refiners and executors. And let me just give you a little short piece on each one of them. Please. Creators, ideas are us. Okay. I am my idea. You don't like my idea, you don't like me. And so they come up with ideas. They usually overvalue them and try to sell them as hard as they can, but they get nowhere. Yep. So, and mostly the most obvious one, the 2 people that clash all the time are refiners. And the difference between them, they're both thinkers. Okay. Yeah. But the creator is an early adopter. The refiner's a later adopter. Later adopter, yep. 95% of engineers, this is after thousands of tests, find that they're combination creators and refiners. Oh. Jeff Bezos, I spent a day with him in his top 12 reports. Jeff was not like Steve Jobs at Apple. He was an advancer. He just wanted to get insanely great things done. Jeff Bezos was a lot more thoughtful than that. And he was a creator refiner, so he could come up with an idea and then at the same time could immediately see what was going to go wrong. Wow. So comes up with an idea and is able to criticize that very same idea until they get to what really is going wrong and how can they fix it. Well, yeah, and the problem with most refiners is that, especially creator refiners, by the way, 9 of his top 12 reports were creator refiners. Oh, really? One advancer in the group. So what I found out is that if you can think of an idea and make sure you know what's going to go wrong, well, then you're like most engineers. So design a beautiful bridge and then also make sure it doesn't fall down. It doesn't fall down, yeah. Right? And so, but people get nowhere. It's a zero-sum game. You think of an idea and you know what's going to go wrong, so you kill the idea.
Okay.
That's the kind of destructive cycle people were getting into.
Yeah.
And so what I developed was I found this person in between called an advancer,
Okay.
early adopter,
Yeah.
but they're much more linear. They don't come up with the ideas, but they can see in their mind how to get it done.
Okay.
Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4,
Yeah.
as opposed to me, who, I'll go 1, 2, 28, purple alligator. I squirrel, that kind of thing, right? So if you insert an advancer in between those people, now good and great ideas can survive. And that's why Apple, it's the iPhone, regardless of everything it has wrong with it, people texting all the time.
Yeah.
By the way, I'm in Starbucks and I have a little piece of paper going like this, and somebody says, "What are you doing?" And I go, "I'm analog."
I'm analog.
I go back to my texting.
That's
but when they introduced the iPhone, they revolutionized communications. A lot of people say it was a kind of a parallel for the 21st century as the telephone and Alexander Graham Bell was for the latter 19th century and the early 20th century. So that's how you get big ideas done. Jobs did it, and he was pretty autocratic about it. He'd throw somebody out for obeying the rules.
So talk to me about the care profile, right? So you're talking about creators, advancers, refiners, and executors. So can you explain why, Al, in so many teams, in so many organizations, whether both charities and profit-making organizations, can you explain why most innovation efforts fail because teams don't understand the 4 roles, and which of the 4 roles is often misplaced or undervalued?
A great one, and it really depends on. A lot of it depends on who's running the organization.
Okay.
But another way to look at early adopters, creators, and advancers. This is very important. This structure underneath, which explains a lot. Creators and advancers.
The organization is important.
Which what? I'm sorry.
You said who's heading the organization is important.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's part of it because where the leader leads, the people usually tend to follow, even though they'll push back a lot.
Okay. Yeah.
And so what happens is oftentimes you get a new leader in the corporation. Means the founder's taking it as far as they can. And I mean, that's the same thing with a 501c3. And so you need new leadership, which is at the next phase, which is George Land talks about as formative, normative, and then if you don't be careful, it's dormative. It goes back to sleep.
It goes back, to dormant.
But he came up with a model that said formative, normative, regenerative, and that's reinvent yourself. Keep reinventing yourself. Okay. Well, you can't, as Drucker said, that's great, but to do that, you have to innovate, and nobody can do it.
Yeah.
So what you find out is that there are the creators and advancers are early adopters. What does that mean? They are absolutely pro-change.
Okay.
They want to change everything, way to a fault. They want to reinvent the whole organization. They want to throw out all the babies with the bathwater.
With the bathwater.
We've all been assaulted sometimes through the air with wet babies at the office, and it's really discombobulating.
Sure.
Although no one's ever been combobulated, so I don't even understand that word.
Yeah.
So it's like the people who love change are at war with the people who don't want change.
Okay.
And it takes a lot of trust to get these people to agree. But one of the things I found out is they were still having problems agreeing that 92% of new products still fail. And you need innovation to get a product with a meaningful difference and have it solve a relevant problem.
Okay.
So
with that, which role is often perhaps misunderstood or misplaced or undervalued?
Yes, well, they all are at different times in the process, and that's one of the keys. One of the secrets of doing this is that creators and advancers are natural starters. To begin a process like of a new product, any big idea that'll change the dynamics of the organization, it starts with an idea.
Yeah.
And so you have the creators and advancers who are the idea pushers, and then you have the refiners and executors who are the idea killers.
Yeah.
And the reason is the refiner is a late adopter,
Okay.
highly conceptual.
Mm-hmm.
If you ever want to kill an idea fast, go to a refiner. They will say, "Oh no, that's not going to work. What are you, smoking something? Come on." Yeah, and so go to a meeting, you just get beaten up by like 5 or 10 refiners, and you don't have a chance.
Yes.
But it goes the other way too. If you had one refiner in a meeting with 5 or 10 creators, a refiner would get beaten up. Oh, you stodgy old so and so, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you've got to keep these people apart.
Okay.
Don't ever have. The only way you want creators and refiners together in a meeting is to have brainstorming rules in effect, which means you have to. The only thing you say is the parts of the idea you like. You can't say anything about what's going to go wrong.
Otherwise, it's going to be torn down. So one of the things that you've mentioned also is out of this care model, right, where you have the creators, the advancers, the refiners, and the executors, is that 15%, and it's a 15% problem, right? So you mentioned that 15% of the population are advancers. These are people who can actually get big ideas done, and they're often buried in the wrong work. So how can organizations, how can I as an entrepreneur, and how can a listener who's here and is like, okay, I'm trying to get my team together, I'm trying to be able to move the organization forward, how can they identify these hidden advances and position them in such a way that they're able to break through results? How do I identify that person in my team?
The beautiful part about this is it makes no sense at all. It's not the way we have. People think they're calling an informational meeting.
Okay.
And there is no such thing as an informational meeting because everybody starts putting their opinions out, and they also want to look smart. Yeah. Right. So the key to having a good meeting is not to look smart, but to try to even look stupid when you're in the idea phase, because it's the stupid ideas that really matter.
Yeah.
So what happens is that what you want to do is, I don't know if you can see this, but
how do you achieve peak work?
Peak work, and what you've got to do is separate the adversaries.
I see that,
and connect the people who are the next step for you, and will promote what you're doing. Yep. And so, for example, if I'm a creator, I don't want to talk to refiners. I don't want to talk to executors. Refiners know what's going to go wrong. Executors say, don't bring that in here. You're going to disrupt everything. We'll have to write new code for the software. I'm going to use the loading dock for that. And Levi Strauss actually found out that the executors, when they complain like that, it was actually a great strategy for them, because if I would say, I would ask you a question. I would say, hey, Patrick, I don't understand your idea. Could you explain it to me? Because I'm really not getting it. Yeah. So the executors would do that. And then why? They found out, I don't know how they found out, but it's the time it took to explain the idea was time that they weren't executing the idea. Yeah. So it bought them time. So crazy stuff. So what you want to do is connect the creators to the advancer. Creator goes to the advancer and says, hey, I got 10 ideas. What do you think? Oh, I like number 6, says the advancer, but we've got to do number 7 first, because number 7 drives 6, and I can make a plan, and I got a budget over here, and I know exactly who we can go to get a prototype made. So it's, like the musical. We'll redo the barn, and we'll have a stage, a theater, and everybody will come. So creators and advancers are a perfect thing. If you're a creator, get yourself an advancer. I'm trying to collect the whole set. Wow. I've got hundreds of advancers in my life, and I know exactly who to go to for the kind of idea, because it doesn't matter. This is deeper than knowledge. Okay. This is your own proclivities, what you love to do, and what you're good at. So you can go to an advancer, and so then I try to pick an advancer for the moment who's a subject matter expert or whatever also. Okay. So, but it's only 15% of the population, and you got to work hard to find them, and that's why we do an assessment.
Yeah. So in organizations, an advancer would be your what? Your chief operating officer, or is that the person that?
Great point. A lot of people. I would have forgotten to talk about this too. So I'm so glad you said that. Actually, the job descriptions in corporations are not usually not aligned with this because that's the reason this model is so different. It's not about personalities. It's not about, what's your role? It's a job description somebody gives you. Yeah. Most job descriptions are written by people who know what the organization needs, but they just don't understand which people should fill those roles
that they need. That's interesting. Yeah.
So this goes, what's your strength and talent, and what do you love to do, which is that joyful part of work. Then redo the job description so I'm doing more ideas.
Okay.
If anybody would ever hire me, because I'm such a screaming squirrel pure creator, that there's no job that exists would be right for me. It's just there's one guy I know, he's passed now, Gordon McKenzie. He worked for Hallmark, and they said, "We love your work. You've been here 35 years. You can have any title you want in any office you want." And he became the creative paradox. Wow. And he had candles in his office, and he had them take out the ceiling. So he had 2 stories, and people would come, and there'd be chairs strung by wires dangling down. People would come in and present their idea, and he was a creator advancer, and he would say, "It is good." And they leave like, "The creative paradox liked my idea. We're going to make a fortune."
Yeah.
So,
So really you're saying that it's not in the position title, it's actually in the, the talents, the gifts that an individual has.
Right. We need to be senior to the job descriptions. They don't make any sense anyway.
Okay.
As far as getting things done, and that's why people get used, because their job is to, usually they have to take it to a refiner or an executor, the idea there, and they're going to kill the idea. Well, same thing with advancers. Advancers don't want to connect with executors because it's like the executor saying, "You're moving too fast. You're moving too fast." The advancer saying, "Let's ram it through." So those people you got to keep apart too. So it goes creator to the advancer, back and forth. Then you take the idea, the best idea, which the advancer chooses, and immediately you go to the executors. And the executors are already vilified. They've been throwing cush balls at these people for 10 years as idea killers, or 20 years even. And so they go to the advancer and say, "Blow every hole you can in this idea." They say, "What? You're going to let me do that? Oh my God, it's great." And then you do it. You say, one catch. I'm not going to kill the idea. I'm going to bring it back to the creators, and they're going to come up with solutions to the problem.
Come up with a solution. It's interesting. Like every time I speak with you, I always question some of the things that I thought I knew from a sort of a business management or a leadership perspective. And so something that's staring in my head right now, and maybe help me make sense or no sense at all of this, is that does education matter then? Does qualifications? Does I spent X number of years studying, et cetera, matter when it comes to this, care profile? Do I need to look at someone's qualifications before saying, "Oh, okay, this is an advancer, this is a creator, or this is an executor, or this is a refiner"? Does that matter now? Or it's actually just looking at the skills, the talents, and what someone brings naturally to the job?
One of the things we did when we were revamping the assessment is we got it approved by ASI, which is sort of a gold standard in measuring testing devices or testing protocols, and they validated this for not only validity, measures what it says, but reliability, test retest is consistent, and it can now be used in hiring because it passed the EEO standard, saying that there's no, let's say, prejudice built into it or that sort of thing. It won't hurt anybody. So, and that's very important, because really what we're suggesting here is if you want to have an organization that either gets a competitive advantage, but even more importantly keeps it because they're ahead of the competition. Then you need to do both. Now the education thing is really important too, but we put it in a different place, because there's in school we learned to do what? Be a subject matter expert. But also hopefully, and this is what one of the things Buckminster Fuller said, is that he was the greatest living philosopher of the 20th century. He said, we need to be generalists because otherwise the world will change and we'll be stuck there like some bird of prey or something like that. We won't be able to survive. So it's combining being a generalist. So generalize in knowledge, specialize in your own talents and strengths. And if you do that combination, so in other words, I want let's say a biochemist, but and this is the future in recruiting. I want a biochemist who's a creator advancer combination. Perfect formula, subject matter expert in biochemistry, hard to find, and but also a creator advancer because I want to do a bunch of new products, and that's how I'm going to get this value formula of the company way up by generating revenue. So it all ties together, and in a nonprofit, what it means is who do we want to be? Well, we want to deliver the best service possible to our customers, which means the kids, but also the parents. Our business depends on the parents having faith in what we're doing. So if we could become, Michael Tracy in a book called Discipline and Market Leader said there are only 3 possible market positions. One is the price leader. So that would be like Walmart. They bought 10% cheaper than anybody. There's a service leader. That would have been, say, Nordstrom. I returned some shoes to them and got my money back after I had worn them for 4 years. They'd take back tires, even though they didn't sell tires, that kind of stuff. Or the innovator, like Target, which helped their rise to a big business, was they had everything designed by Graves Design and some of these people. They had the first discount store with cool products, proprietary products of their own. Choose one, stick to it. But if you choose that, say in a like a charitable institution, well, you're going to be able to do things like, how do we raise money? Right? That's a problem. Well, first of all, you get the advancers raising the money. I got a friend, one of my go-tos, he's an advancer with a little executor in him, and he's a bulldog. He won't stop making the calls. He raised $150 million to build a new concert hall in a major city just by who he is.
Just by who he is. That's amazing. And I'm just looking at our time. Our conversations always go by fast. But 3 questions that I have for you before we bring this home. You've worked with a lot of celebrity clients, and I'm sure you've learned a lot of lessons through that process. Now, without breaking any sort of confidentiality or whatever with the clients that you've worked with, and I know you've worked with Sir Paul McCartney, you've worked with Bill Murray. What surprised you about how creative celebrities approach business problems compared to perhaps what you would see in the Fortune 500 companies?
That's a great one. Just off the top of my head, Bill Murray, who I've been involved with in a lot of baseball teams, and we're doing one together right now, and I presented 50 ideas for merchandise, and this is a town where there is it's a prison town. There's a federal prison and a state prison there. So the team is called the Joliet Slammers.
Okay.
And so I presented a whole bunch of ideas, and I mean like 500 ideas for uniform designs, gags that go on in the stadium. The scoreboard will, so we're combining baseball and prisons. By the way, we don't create things, we just combine them. And if you combine them in new ways, then they're either a great idea or a joke. So the scoreboard's going to say home team and then conjugal visitors. So you get the idea.
I get the idea. Sure.
We're looking for some bars to put in the concourse, and we're going to put a bunch of tin cups out. And so when they want a hot dog, they have to the cup on the bars to get the attention of the guard who's going to give them a hot dog.
Oh my God.
So Billy looks at these ideas, but he's a brilliant creator. This guy has invented so many things, so much humor, but he's got a bit of refiner in him.
Okay.
Probably backed up by advancer and refiner. And so he looked at all these ideas, and he was like the most thoughtful guy
Yeah.
I've ever seen in looking at the ideas. And he says, that one over there's got kind of a problem, but I think if he just took that and put it over here and put this little twist on it. So he's got a lot of creative refiner
Wow.
in
Yeah.
him.
Creative. That's very unusual,
Yeah.
right? To have a
Yeah.
creator
Well,
and refiner.
oh, to have somebody who's like one of the icons of comedy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So he's been there. He's invented a lot of things, Caddyshack and Ghostbusters and those
And
things
Ghostbusters,
with other writers and things like that.
Yeah.
But he's different. You'd expect him to be, just on all the time, and he does crazy, strange things. But I believe that he thinks it out before he does any of it. He'll go into a party in New York, and he'll go up and hey, is that Bill Murray out there? Yeah. He'll be sitting there, hi everybody, the party's going on. He'll come in and wash the dishes.
Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing. That's amazing. And so my last question to you, and I know our time is coming up, is, and you've met dozens and hundreds and countless and thousands of people around the world. If you were to have dinner with 3 people, living or dead, who would they be and why?
Oh, I'm lucky because I've had dinner with a lot of them.
Yeah.
But the one I really missed was Yogi Berra, who was the all-star catcher baseball for the New York Yankees.
Yeah.
3-time most valuable player. And if you go to a bookstore, you can find tons of books about him because he does all these crazy quotes.
Wow.
He was giving directions to his house, and he says, "Okay, Patrick, when you come to a fork in the road, take it."
Take
right? Yeah, take it.
Where?
Yeah.
Take it left or right? Where do I go?
He was a total creator, and brilliant. And the can I just tell one more story about Yogi's short story?
Sure, and then we go to the second one. Yep.
Yeah, okay, so they were. He was in 8th grade, and he was in St. Louis, and he and Joe Garagiola, another Italian guy. There was an Italian neighborhood called the Hill in St. Louis, and they both lived there. And in 8th grade, his teacher called him up, and he says, "Lawrence," that was his real name. "Lawrence, from the results of your examination, you don't seem to know much of anything." He says, "Know anything? I don't even suspect anything." So that's Yogi, and I had a chance. I was at a seminar speaking, a Bill Veeck promotional seminar, and there's a guy in the front row who's the owner of the New Jersey Jackals, and that's where Yogi had his office. He says, "Come to town, I'll arrange a lunch." And I got there too late. He had already passed.
Oh,
so,
no. And who's the second one? Who's the second and the third person?
The second what? I'm sorry?
The second.
The second.
Yeah.
That I haven't? Oh, yeah. I would have loved to have spent more time with Paul McCartney. We were doing Linda when she was alive. It was entrees, vegan entrees that tasted like meat. And so he wanted to, it was her business. He wanted to stay out of the way. And I always dreamed of being the 5th member of the Beatles. When I was a kid playing in a band. And he says, "Oh, nice to meet you, Alan." Because I was there for 2 weeks every day working with Linda. He wouldn't show up. It's her deal, right? So a couple of months later, they have an opening thing. He was there. She was there. And he says, "Oh, yes, Alan, you're the writer. We should do a couple of songs about this product together. Don't you think?" And I went, oh my God. It was kind of like my head exploded at that moment.
That's crazy.
But we didn't do it. But, that's too bad. But so I regret those. What's one more?
Yeah, one more.
Well, I think Mike Veeck, his dad. Mike is my friend who's Bill Murray's partner in all these baseball teams. His dad, Bill Veeck, was a Hall of Fame baseball owner. He was the guy who got Eddie Goodell, the midget, to bat. He was 3 feet 7 inches tall, and he batted once, and he had no strike zones, so he walked in 4 straight pitches. And Bill Veeck was amazing. And there's a documentary about Mike and Bill, his dad, called The Saint of Second Chances. It's on Netflix, and I encourage you all to see it because it's both hilarious and it tugs at your heart in a lot of ways too.
That's amazing. Thanks so much for sharing these three names. And are you a Dodgers fan at all? Congratulations on the World Series, if you are.
Well, I didn't. You broke up during the first part of that. What was the first part?
Are you a Dodgers fan?
Oh yeah, I am, and just because they have these guys that are, I followed Japanese baseball when I was a lot younger, and I just love it that these guys are killing it. What's his name, Matsumoto or whatever? I can't even remember the name. But
Yamamoto and Ohtani,
and Ohtani. That's what I was trying to think of. I mean, my God, these guys are like freaks. They're so good. And but also, I thought it was a great series too, just because who expected Toronto to do so well, and especially the one Canadian team in the league, right? Baseball, the American pastime. Well, what are these Canadians doing? Almost winning the World Series. They took it to 7 games.
They took it to 7 games. That's amazing. Alan Fahden, thank you so much for spending time with me here on the podcast.
Oh, thank you.
Always look forward to our conversations and everything that I learned from you. And I hope my listeners too have learned a lot from you. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. A lot of fun. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for listening to the Voices Listed podcast with Dr. PMAC. I hope you enjoyed insights that came out of this conversation. Keep your notifications on. Our next episode will be dropping soon. Thank you and enjoy.